Good morning. I'm Jim Murphy. We're here at Local Foods, our beautiful retail space, north and North Avenue, just a little east of Olson. I'm here with Terry Olson, who's actually CEO of,
Good morning.
of Local Foods. Good morning. And we're gonna talk to Terry now about his position here, and been on the job about 6 months, I think. So let's start with some earlier years, though. Terry,
Sure.
maybe you can give us a little background, where you're from, what you've done in your earlier years, and how we worked up to here.
Great, sure. Well, I am a local boy. I grew up in northern Illinois, just outside the city, in what I guess you'd call the near farmland, just past the far suburbs. Grew up in a set of family businesses there with farmers and mechanics and all, and then spent my time in schooling in Illinois, down at the University of Illinois, and then up here at Northwestern. So my roots are here. I am Chicago born and bred, really, in my roots. And from there, started my food career here in Chicago with the old Dart and Craft Company, in cheese, and new product development. So I went to work up in Glenview as a young, eager college grad and hoping to change the world, and it's been quite a ride. 35 years of food and beverage work in my history. And it took me from Glenview to New York City to Florida to Europe to Latin America, back to the heartlands, and then ultimately back here to my home, where my family still lives. All of my relatives are within 60 or 70 miles of here, and basically it's kind of been a full circle trip for me in the food and beverage industry coming back home.
So most of that food work, would you say that was with larger corporate type companies?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. I've had, I don't know if it's strange, I find my career a little bit atypical. I started with the very biggest companies. I started with Kraft, and then ultimately got my biggest break at Unilever, which is, believe it or not, kind of the association of how I got here. But both Kraft and Unilever are multinational, multi-billion-dollar companies, and I spent time in marketing and R&D, and ultimately in general management with those companies through the dairy industry. But my position at Unilever, my last kind of big company position, led me to meet the Lutzy family. Your general partner here, Andrew Lutzy, his grandfather went from being a dairy farmer to starting a dairy business in Green Bay, Wisconsin. And in Green Bay, he built a very powerful, very well-developed ice cream manufacturing facility that Unilever bought. And Unilever bought that as its base for North American ice cream. And as business development goes, they needed an American with dairy experience, which I had, and somebody who had Midwestern roots. And so Unilever asked me to go up there and run the marketing and R&D groups for that business. And it was meeting Andrew's grandfather, and then later his father and his entire family, who really developed a very strong bond with Green Bay and the Packers, of course, and the Boys and Girls Clubs, and a number of other groups in Green Bay, social groups in Green Bay, that really gave me my opportunity to really develop in the food and beverage industry.
Is there any truth to something that Andrew's father told me about his father, that he invented the ice cream bar?
He did, believe it or not. So what most people don't know is that almost every ice cream treat, ice cream novelty that you eat, was made by Tom Lutzy Sr., Andrew's grandfather, at some point. He made Haagen-Dazs bars, he made Popsicle, he made Klondike, he made Good Humor, and they actually invented a process to quiescently freeze water ices, to make frozen products not taste as granular, as icy, as salty, so to speak. And that manufacturing facility that they had up there, that ultimately expanded nationwide, had the best of technology that existed in the 70s and 80s. And Nestle products were made by them, Unilever products, Haagen-Dazs products. They made products for everybody in the country because their technology was so well advanced. And sure enough, his grandfather was a real pioneer and was a very, very good engineering mind. And that business was just a joy to work in because there were so many strong engineering types and feet on the ground operators that really made the ice cream business what it is in this country. When I left, they were $1.5 billion in size, clearly the biggest ice cream business in the world, and one of the most profitable in the world because of those roots in engineering that date all the way back to Andrew's grandfather.
Wow, that's a great story.
Yeah.
It's a great story. So that was part of your Unilever.
That was.
So you got a lot of Packer tickets then for a while.
We did. Bart Starr was our kind of sergeant at arms at our sales meetings nearly every year. Brett Favre, of course, came by the office regularly. We were a big supporter of Bart's Rawhide group for underprivileged youth, and spent a lot of time with Bart and those kids up in Green Bay and in Milwaukee. And when you live in Green Bay, you become part of the town. It just envelops you and sucks you in. So though my roots are here, and I was a Bears fan and a strong Bulls fan and Chicago roots, I've got a lot of Green Bay blood in me. But it was a great experience of being up there.
The Packer fans love having Bear fans come to Bear Packer games because by the fourth quarter we're usually down by 20 or 30.
Yeah.
And they're buying you beers.
Yeah,
So
they
they're
do.
just buying
And
you beers.
and the Bears fan drink a lot of beers, which is good for business
Right,
up there.
right. So you had you then left Green Bay for a while, then you went out and did something else, and you had a second stint back with the Lutzies?
Well, yeah. So Unilever actually gave me the opportunity to take on some bigger businesses. So I managed Unilever's beverage business in the Americas, so North America and Latin America, for Lipton Tea, which is one of their biggest brands on the globe, and Ada's soy juice and Slim Fast weight loss beverages. So I spent a lot of time in Mexico City and Sao Paulo and Buenos Aires, which is where Unilever tries to manage its beverage businesses from. And so that took me away from the Midwest, and I moved down near Miami because that's kind of the Latin American hub, and spent a lot of time working on that business. And that took me then to kind of the end of what I would call my big company experience. And it will wear on you, and the travel was really wearing me down. I mean, I was in different countries 2 to 3 times a month. Wasn't seeing my family much, and made a choice that I was going to anchor myself down back here at home, spend more time with my wife and kids and now grandkids. So I went to work for the Lutzy family again. They started a small, very artisan whey protein processing facility that was trying to take dairy processing to a new level. And to me, it really tugged on my heartstrings because it was really going all the way back to what Andrew's grandfather did. Andrew's grandfather invented technology that created products that were second to none, that were unique in the market. And so here they were doing it again. And Andrew's father, Tom Lutzy Jr., was the primary investor there, with a number of artisan cheesemakers and dairy providers in the state of Wisconsin. And what they had done was build a batch processing artisan facility there near Wisconsin Dells that could make goat whey protein and sheep whey protein that was perfect for infant formula, for infants that had dairy allergies, or for medical recovery foods, or for sports hydration. Goat's milk is very, very good for humans. It's the closest thing to human milk. But nobody had the ability to process it. And here we had all this goat milk and all this goat cheese being made in Wisconsin, and they were spreading that waste on the farmland, which was actually polluting the lakes and rivers. So the state put a requirement out to stop spreading, which meant there had to be something done with that. Well, sure enough, the Lutzy family got involved with somebody who wanted to find a way technologically to bring that to market. And it got started and bumped along a little bit, and just really needed a little extra boost of strategy, of operating kind of leadership and market development. So we we got our ducks in a row. We got the house in order. We started making basically industry-leading product right there in the Dells, and started selling it, frankly, around the world. We were the backbone that started a goat whey protein brand in Taiwan. We sold lots to South Korea as well, and basically exported nearly everything we made for the first few years, and then got our opportunity to bring that product back to the US and start a brand called Tara's Whey. It was named after the founder, Tara Johnson, who was, you know, the muscle behind the vision and raising the money. And that brand was named after her, and we took that brand into the natural and organic market with Sprouts and Henry's and Whole Foods and those retailers, and basically built a brand new business that was up in the $20 million or so range in sales, and was a one of a kind in this country, frankly, in the world. And so it renewed my association again with the Lutzys and really their foundation in engineering development, which is really what that was finding a way to process very small batches efficiently and very cleanly, very delicately.
I have to make a point of making sure I get Tom Lutzy down here for an interview.
Yeah, you should. He's got a history.
Certainly, he's got a great history. But maybe give us, I could do this, but I want you to do this. Give us a minute on Tom's latest venture with Waseda Farms.
Yeah, Waseda is...
Because Waseda for me was very inspirational relative to being in the food business, okay, or wanting to be in healthier, better foods, okay, and a butcher and larder, and having our retail floor print here at Local Foods.
Yeah. Waseda is nothing short of amazing when it comes to farm development. It is going all the way back to the roots of putting all of your effort into animal care, into raising animals healthy so that the animals are better in nutrition and better tasting, and doing it in a way that brings the families back together, because it is really a place that people love to go and visit. So it's land that was owned by the Archdiocese that he bought from the Archdiocese. Nuns had managed the herds there for years before the Lutzy family bought it. There are prayer points and meditation points all around the farms where the cows now mingle and scratch their backs. But he has hundreds of heads of Black Angus, organically fed, free-ranged cattle. He's got one of the state-of-the-art egg processing facilities where he raises his chicken.
Eggs are amazing. Very
naturally multicolored eggs.
Wonderful eggs.
And organic pigs and organic fruits and vegetables. And the farm really started with this site that the Archdiocese had, that they've now built a massive complex around, all focused on organics and raising animals with the utmost care.
I think he's gone from, I think the original site was 300 acres, and I think he's up to 1,000 now.
That's right, yeah.
It's just an incredible place. It's in Door County, Wisconsin, and they have a little retail store there.
They do.
Was kind of helped us think about local foods, because we would see the tourists that came up in the summer, they would always travel the extra distance to go get the extra quality of product and meat to put on their barbecue or to take home with them and spend some time. So that became a little bit of an idea that if Tom could do that in Door County, why can't we do it here in Local Foods? Right? Why can't we? Young people who live here, hundreds of thousands of people who live here in Chicago are really interested in quality and healthy, more nutritious food. So tell us about your transition to come back and to Chicago and your first days in terms of working with Andrew here at Local Foods, and then how it's gone from there.
So at the time that you all started Local Foods, I was managing Tara's Whey and Wisconsin Specialty, and was working quite closely with the Lutzy family. So I saw some of the initial documents about the launch of the company, and talked quite a bit to Andrew and his brothers about the start of this business back in those days, because we were working together. And it really intrigued me, because this to me is the culmination of the hard work from the farm coming right directly to the consumer. And in the food business, as many people know, along the way in the big companies, the commercial companies, they have to take lots of shortcuts that cut costs or make product redistribution easier. And it just seems that we had lost our foothold on bringing farm fresh products directly to the consumers that wanted a healthier alternative. And that's what this business was it was the year-round farmers market. It was the place where farmers who care about the quality of the products that they raise, or greenhouses that care about the products that they could raise every year. It's how consumers would know, it's the place consumers would know to get it. Like I say, like an everyday's farmer's market. And so from that level of seeing the prospectus, I watched the development over the years, and it grew much quicker, I think, than I believed. I think I was, you know, as we all are with lots of business history, I was skeptical that the consumer would find it this, I guess, interesting, and sure enough they did. And particularly the wholesale side of this business just took off like a rocket. The restaurateurs and chefs were really interested in a better quality product. And I think the partnership of Local Foods and Mighty Vine was just a powerful combination of bringing year-round, locally grown, high-quality tomatoes into that restaurant industry. And that partnership that really leads the industry here, I believe, in quality, gave Local Foods a foothold to then bring many other farm and hothouse produced products into the top-end restaurant community here in Chicago. And this business today on the wholesale side is not only strong, but growing significantly faster than our industry and our category, because what we offer is a return to the basics. Well-managed, well-grown food. You know your source, you know how it's raised, and it's second to none in quality and flavor. And getting it direct, getting it here direct and redistributing it direct brings it fresh to the market. It doesn't take time to ship from foreign lands or from distances, and it doesn't have to go through reprocessing centers. You know, many of the farmers bring their products directly to us here. Bring them right here to the store and drop them off. We put them on the shelves or put them on our trucks and take them directly to the restaurateurs or to the consumers.
So the chefs are a really, really important part of our educating the population here in Chicago about the difference in food, the difference in quality, what it does for them in terms of taste and health. The chefs play a key role, and that's through the wholesale of Local Foods, isn't it?
Absolutely it is. Yeah, the partnership with the chefs, and as chefs look at their menus and want to call out on their menus what makes their dishes unique, what we give them is the opportunity to be creative. And when they are creative and present that to their guests, their consumers, it educates the local population on taste and on nutrition, and brings a new level of quality to the market that then, I believe, absolutely bleeds back into what consumers do every day at home. When you see the trend, whether it be in Asian spices or in fusion cooking or in meat smoking, you call it out. When you see the trends happen in the restaurants, it isn't long before you see those trends come back home to people who really care about their food and food ingredients and how they feed their families.
So not to give away any state secrets, as a percentage, May over May from last year, what do you think our wholesale business has increased?
Yeah, we're growing somewhere north of 25% year on year, and finding that we are, you know, pushing near capacity on our system today because of the demand for locally sourced high quality ingredients. So yeah, the business is performing very well, and it's really a joy to work on a business that gets that kind of reception from your customers. When people see the quality, when people see the value in what you do, it really makes it a joy to come to work.
Talk to us a little bit about what you've learned about Local Foods retail and what your vision is going forward, but tell us what you've seen and what's some of the highlights, what are some of the challenges?
Well, for those that have been in retailing, it is an altogether different game than selling business to business or selling wholesale. I mean, we are here on display for our consumer every day, day in and day out, and have to be our best. And so this concept, which I think is the ultimate concept, is combining a public market with a whole animal butchery with a cafe. So we put everything we do on display for the consumer every day. And they can watch us butcher and provide cuts right there, right on the other side of the glass, with our butchers working on either whole hogs or whole lamb or whole beef. You can order the cut that you want and watch the butcher prepare that cut. That's something that existed much more regularly, 100 years ago, 50 years ago, but has gone away from our society. And what Local Foods has done is bring that back, because it brings the freshest meat right to the consumer.
That's certainly what attracted us to Rob Levitt and his work, because he was operating out of a little shop and trying to restore that and bring that back to Chicago. And he certainly has had a big impact on having people come in here and be trained and taught the proper way to do it.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And the commitment to whole animal means that we can educate the consumer on, well, what does that mean? Well, we butcher prime cuts, and then we take trim and can make ground beef or sausages, and then we roast the bones and sell the stock and help people make soups. And everything the animal provided to us gets brought back to the consumer. It's not waste, and it isn't turned into dog or cat food, which is also a very important category, but we bring it all right back to the consumer. And what it does provide is a really high quality there out of the protein source. And so that's on display every day, and consumers learn. People bring their kids in to watch on Thursdays and Fridays when they're cutting, to learn about animal butchery. But then we take it all the way to the end extreme and bring that product right over and make it fresh for people in our cafe, and serve those farm fresh products right here, and allow people to taste and see the difference that quality makes in their dishes. And when they're finished with that experience, they can then shop around our public market on their way out and basically fill a grocery basket for what they need to provide meals for their family. We source everything that we can locally. That includes our produce, that includes our breads, includes our dairy, from our cheese and deli department all the way down through all of our dry goods. And what that gives people is an opportunity to help build the regional food system here, because we go out and find those farmers and small manufacturers that are trying to build a foothold here in this region and produce products locally so that they don't have to travel as far, so they're fresher when they get to the consumer. And you not only know your source, but you know everything about their manufacturing. And we bring them here, right here to the site. So the learning for me here it's been a full circle experience, from my early days working at bigger companies around to working through manufacturing and processing. This is the culmination of all that work, 35 years of work. Now we put it all on display here with the shopper. We tell them everything about what we do. We let them see it. Our cafe is an open air cafe. When we chop, when we cut, when we saute, the consumer can watch the whole process. And it is a transparency that most businesses don't offer. And I think that's what drew me here. It's the excitement of saying, we'll put everything we do on display. We're not afraid to tell you everything from start to finish, and we'll show you all what we do. And we'll educate your children if that's what you'd like us to do. And we'll hold a class to educate the parents as well. And it's just it's a showplace, really, for local foods and local food ingredients. And what I've really enjoyed about that retail experience is learning what it is the consumers really want to see, and managing our mix, if you will, of what it is we offer. Certainly education is a key part, and I assumed it would be a big part, but it's a much bigger part than even I realized. Shoppers and guests here are really hungry to understand the source of their foods and how they're processed and what makes them different. And they ask our butchers, they ask our chefs, and they ask our store associates questions all the time. It's more of an experience to come here than just a stop and shop.
So the grocery store, if this is a grocery store, and I don't know whether it is or not, marketplace is very competitive. People are fighting over nickels and dimes, and some of them are making a little bit, some of them are losing a little bit. Is there a place for local foods to expand in the Chicagoland market or in Chicago? And do you think that that's possible, and how would you do that?
Yeah, I think it is possible. I think this has been a great test site for the business to learn about what consumers want from a local food source. And I think what we're learning is that we've got a formula that really interests folks that are food focused or food forwards, who believe that food is part of nutrition and food is part of health. And I think what we've got here is a recipe that can be done by a small entrepreneurial company such as ours. I think more sites in areas of this city where people are concerned about food quality should absolutely be on our radar screen moving forwards. And whether we have multiple sites that stand alone, or whether we have sites that combine with other businesses that provide, a more localized experience, I think there's many opportunities for us to grow. And my hope is that you'll see local foods not only in the city, but in the suburban locations as well, around Chicago and in the Chicagoland area. And I think what we're doing here is we're developing a model that ultimately can go to other major metropolitan areas. If somebody was watching our chat and was from the farmland, they'd say, well, what's so special about what you do? We just drive down the road and we pick fresh produce and we get whole animals butchered by the guy next door. Well, all of us who live in the cities don't have that luxury and that opportunity. And what we're doing is bringing that experience right here to the metropolitan area. And I think there are many metro areas that could benefit from this kind of concept. So I think the future is bright for local foods and local food sourcing and, if you will, year-round farmers markets that are similar to the design that we've put together here at Local Foods.
Great. It's been nice chatting with you.
Thank you, Jim.
This has been a good experience. I think people will enjoy watching this and kind of thinking about the future and local foods.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate it.